Good morning, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing a video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know. And I want to talk about some things that are going on lately that you may or may not be aware of. I see these vending machines popping up here and there. They have some very innocent looking items in them, but there's an overarching program that distributes these vending machines. They install them and they are free to use. You can take as much as you want. And one of the items, notably in these vending machines, is contraception. And I'm currently in Petaluma, California. It's about an hour north of San Francisco by car, and I am at the public library, which is a famously public access point where you can go to get books, obviously, and resources and materials, but you can also now go to the library to get prophylactic, and I'm not exaggerating. I have seen these things popping up, and they're actually being distributed by a Northern California state-funded program in connection with other programs. There are a network of programs starting with La Familia. La Familia is designed to provide support for the Hispanic community, for disadvantaged people, for example, and they provide access to resources and supplies. And there's also the North Bay Rapid Response Network that is also in connection, and they provide supposedly legal resources if you are confronted by ICE agents, or if you are in fear of prosecution or some kind of pursuit or surveillance or whatever. They give you these business cards with phone numbers you can call. And at the moment, like I said, there are these vending machines. You can see it right here behind me. I'm at the library. You can see the library. And they have what are advertised as toiletries and things, but there's also contraception. So what's interesting here is that there's a debate. There is, in fact, a debate, a controversy, if you will, regarding how accessible things like this should be to the general public. And in the state of California, it is considered in a legal sense that everyone has total reproductive rights. It's called reproductive rights. That's fine. I'm not disputing that. I am going to point out, however, that a lot of people understand there's another dimension to contraception when it becomes the basis for whole new lifestyles. Hear me out. When contraception creates behavior, you have an artificial behavior, something that was based on something created in a laboratory that has been distributed and is managed by some authority. You have a new behavior, a new culture that is entirely spawned from this invention. And it's significant because it has departed, humankind, our civilization, our society, if you will, has departed from the natural way of things, which is debatably harsh and brutish and not supportable, not fun for a lot of people, especially women. And I'm not suggesting we get rid of contraception. I want to be clear about that. What I'm suggesting is that people understand the cost and the trade-off of adopting a total access model to contraception, such as you see here at the library. Consider that there are research papers. There are actually research papers that you can look up online at your leisure that have thoroughly explored what's happening in connection with contraception, the widespread adoption of contraception, the massive reliance upon it, the use of it, overuse of it, and it's connected deeply, you can check this on your own, you don't have to believe me, with this new phenomenon known as serial monogamy. Serial monogamy, where there's a failure to bond. Somebody might want to be in a long-term relationship, but for whatever reason the spark isn't there. There's not enough risk or incentive to become emotionally attached to somebody. And here's the problem, right? So there's no risk with contraception, and some of this is obvious. You've heard this before. You take away the risk of pregnancy for people who are fertile, and suddenly there's no reason to have to bond. There's no psychological, subconscious reason to have to bond with this person, because there's very little to any risk whatsoever of pregnancy, or some reason why you would have to stay around if you wanted to leave, say, tomorrow or at any moment, right? Well, it turns out that falling in love is risky for a lot of obvious reasons. Falling in love kind of requires a reason to get pushed into it, which traditionally, historically, in terms of evolution and just basic instincts, it has been caused by this risk of pregnancy, right? The risk of pregnancy causes people to take relationships very seriously on a subconscious and a conscious level. When you take away the risk, you take away the potential reward, you take away the incentive and the push to actually bond. And in the case of most females, it appears that the use or overuse of contraception has had a tremendous impact on their ability and interest of bonding with other people. Okay, it's true. You don't have to take my word for it. There's tons of psychological research papers on this subject. Human sexuality is a college course. You can take it if you want. You don't have to believe me. But what I'm saying here, in conclusion, at 5.5 minutes, the debate and the consequences, the costs, the trade-offs, if you will, of using and overusing contraception have been steamrolled by the current administration in California, who is staunchly in favor of total access and total reproductive rights, as they call them, for every single person, regardless of age or gender or their parentage, their culture, the preferences of the family, the preferences of anybody, and it is just wide open to everybody for free at every place, including schools, libraries, and it's just something that I think people need to be made aware of. So I think it's funny. In conclusion, it's a little bit funny that now, I was going to bring my girlfriend to the library to love her properly, but turns out we found condoms and we didn't have to. We just decided to, have casual sex, and we broke up because, well, we had no reason to stay together. There was no risk. There was no pregnancy. We were just having a good time, apparently, and the library made it possible. Thank you, library. I'll be on to the next one, and it will happen the same exact way because, well, there's free rubbers. There's free rubbers here, and I'm being sarcastic. I'm a little bit bitter about it because I think there's a valid debate that's just being steamrolled, like I said, for the last time, an administration in California that is of only one mind and represents only one culture, and that is that of casual sex, group sex, including anything that is now empowered with contraception, including incest, and all of those untoward, unhealthy behaviors that couldn't even be possible without it. Think about it. Reach out if you like with questions or comments down below. Thank you.